Man, coming out to this in the morning is such a treat. If you didn't catch the last video, the 300C decided that it didn't really want to turn off. The ignition barrel snapped within itself, basically. Common problem apparently on this platform of Chrysler Jeep with this ignition. Now the parts are on their way for this car, but that's a couple of days out. So in the last video you may have seen that I actually took the garage's Golf GTI home. Now this is a car that I wanted so bad back in the day when they're about 15 maybe ish £1,000. When I was about 19 years old, this was the goal car for me. Two-door in black, DSG full leather with the Xenons. That was the car. I still to this day have never actually owned a Golf GTI whatsoever. Coming out to this today after, you know, driving it around yesterday, I am again smitten on these cars. It's one of those cars that's on the list, but one day we'll get there after we've, you know, played with silly big 300Cs. You'll also notice in the background there is another car over there. That is a slight project we might have coming very, very soon to the channel. If you do want to see something with that car though, let us know in the comments below. So yeah, we're going to park the 300C for today while the parts come. Although this car is running and driving, ready to go, I feel like if this is sat on the driveway, I need to drive it. We have a few bits turning up today for the 197 Clio. So I'm very excited to get stuck in, to get to the garage. Oh, this reminds me of my youth, this car. I remember sitting in a Mark 5 Golf GTI when I was about 18, 19, and then bought one when I was 19 and a half. It wasn't as lovely as this one though. I had a base spec 1.6 FSI and I made it look like a GTI because I couldn't afford the GTI. So it is a massive treat for me to be driving this car around at the moment. Well, let her have it then. That's it. Work that back in there. That's it. Work that back in there. Your little face is so happy. Doing some body work, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you're doing a good job there, well done. Next to the Golf today though, look at this, right? So these cars, and I know I'm probably talking to myself here, these cars were like just coming out when I started driving, so I wanted one so bad, and I know there's a lot of stigma behind the Corsa VXR these days, which is a huge shame, and I do think it's one of the next, in 20 years, come up cars that, again, a lot of people may have had, or may remember, or never actually bought, like me. Caro seats in there. One of those cars that, for me, I remember seeing on forecourts and wanting, so now they're like really cheap. A lot of them have, you know, been dismantled, crashed, whatever's happened. It's the next come up car. I said this in a few videos in the past. A lot of people weren't happy about it, but yeah, it's cool to see one. Back on the Clio today, so we're actually going to do a few things. Now, I've never done this before, and I'm a complete amateur, so again, this is not a how-to, but we've got a water pump and we have a timing belt kit ready to go on the car. So, from instruction from the garage, the guys at the garage, I'm going to take this wheel off, arch line, a few bits out of the engine bay. We should be able to get these on pretty quickly. I will, of course, bring a professional in to actually do all of the timing belt stuff. I can deconstruct the car, maybe put it back together with the small amount of knowledge that I have, but doing the timing belt and stuff, that's for a professional. Right, let's get this wheel off. I did just have to find the locking wheel nut key, which was in there. Thankfully, it was on the passenger seat, so I didn't have to delve too far into the disgusting inside of this car today. Yet, we will have to probably later on, but that's another video's worth because there's probably like a 3-day ordeal of trying to make that nice inside that car. Right, wheel bolts are off, hopefully. The years of having this car sat. I'm actually just going to show the tyres. They're not exactly, I don't know, that's got some tread on it, but I don't know if they're too perished. We'll of course get a professional to check them over because we might need some tyres on this thing. Someone's definitely ran a curb on them though, look at that. Look how bad the curbing is on the front. up in the air.
Yes.
So this is off. Again, this isn't a tutorial. We don't. Yeah, I am doing this.
I'm not touching this.
No, you just put the ramp up. This is off. See that? This is out in there. See that? Ready to do top dead center.
I'm too practiced at doing these, so Jamie.
Yeah, I have zero practice in doing this to any car, let alone a 197 Clio. But up we go. And then supporting the engine and gearbox with this fancy tool. This is a new one, I haven't seen one of these before.
This is one of my favourite tools.
Yeah. It like
Makes my life easier.
well, it hooks on here and then supports the engine here, is that correct?
Yeah, so basically it uses a cantilever, so you've got 2 hooks, holds the tool up, pad under the sump, and once the mounts are off, the weight goes on it and then sits onto these bits.
Nice.
And it just all supports. It just means you haven't got to have a jack under the engine. You can actually go up and down and use the full
As
take
you
it
wish
back,
to.
basically.
Yeah, nice. Also, this isn't a how-to. I always say that. It's just how we're doing it today. That tool's really cool.
I used one once and literally fell in love with the idea of the tool, so I bought one.
So why not?
At the end of the day, I like to make my life easier.
Yeah?
Dry ice block.
I think he's old one. So we've got a professional in. That's you. That's you right there.
Tea drinker.
Professional tea drinker. What are you saying about that belt? Is it happy? Is it new? Is it not new? What are your thoughts on the belt?
Definitely not new, but it's probably had a belt in its life, I reckon.
You'd like to think so.
I mean, the fact that it's done 170,000, I'd say it's had a belt. The water pump is definitely leaking though, because there is a lot of old antifreeze stuck everywhere.
Yeah, so that was needed to be done anyway, and
Yeah.
when doing that, you might as well do this. It's not that bad in there though. For 170,000 miles, that's not that bad.
No,
It
usual
is,
way.
don't get me wrong, you could probably get away with doing this, but the last thing you want to do is be revving her up and let go, do you?
Yeah, I mean, there's no big cracks I can see from here, but until I've got the belt in my hand, I won't actually know. But
On face value though, it's not actually as bad. I was expecting it to be a lot worse
this is,
than that.
This is a genuine like barn find, because I know everyone loves saying that.
Yeah, barn find! Yeah,
Look, this is barn find dust.
Yeah, look, barn find, look at this.
Yeah,
It's
it's
got
barn
stuff
find
on it.
dust. But yeah, people like that, and this has genuinely just been a setup, unused.
High mileage,
Yeah,
hot hatch.
it was used as a high mileage car, and then it just sat up, and it
Yeah.
hasn't done nothing.
It's quite good that it's actually like
it's
that.
not split and cracked.
No, I was expecting it to be a lot more perish than that, if I'm honest,
I do have to
for you know,
agree,
being
yeah.
sat and the mileage that's on it. Don't do that! Oh my... What is... Right, we want refunds. I've
If
sold.
someone UK are watching, the Isle of Wight need a wreck.
Bring us a new thingamabob. There she goes. The hardest bolt.
Bolt is where the lower crankshaft timing pin goes.
Lower crankshaft timing pin. Pin.
The locking pin. Keeps
Okay.
the engine in time.
That small bolt. Look at that. Cool. That's a star.
Yeah, E-drive.
Nice.
E-Torx.
E-Torx. There we go. Some technical information.
6.5 hours later.
Be good though, if we've got like a little track day car. Yeah, alright, it's wrong wheel drive. But it's easy to drive for like...
You're not in the camera though, mate. Don't worry. Not well. You are sort of. Do this. Look at these. The whole lot's getting replaced. Because 170,000 miles. Like, yeah, I think we did say that the belt was done at some point. We're not sure when. I did look at the MOT history. It was doing 25 to 30,000 miles a year until 2017. And then in 2018, it only did a little bit of mileage, and then it sat since. It failed on 2018, I think it was, if I remember. Let me have a look. Instead of lying to everyone, shall I? Probably a good idea. I'll be factual rather than just pulling it out of the sky. EDT, FTD.
STD.
Right, MOT expired. So, failed in 2019, so it had an MOT at 2018, and it still did 10,000 miles that year, but that's when it failed. And then before that, it was a relatively consistent 10,000 miles. So yeah, you guys probably can't see that, but consistent failures. And yeah, 69, 82, 94, 112, 125, 138. So yeah, she was doing quite, and then a jump, 138, 155. It is consistent mileage, don't get me wrong, but that shows where the mileage has come from. And then between 17 and 18, 163, and another 173, so 10,000 miles. And then it failed on quite a big list, basically of stuff that we're actually doing right now, which is cool. So that's this period of time between 18 and 19 is when it sat. And then, you know, we're nearly, say we're 5 years away from when it actually was last on the road. Dan has just enlightened me to something really cool that maybe some people out there might be interested in. So once the belt goes on, we've put the pump on and all that, a little bit of rubber hose, belt goes on, and just put it straight underneath.
So what
and
it
that will
does
hold it there.
is it stops, a lot of the time, and a lot of people will know who do timing belts, you put the belt on by yourself, the thing falls off.
Yeah.
And you're getting a real huff. So bit of soft rubber, usually a bit of fuel hose because it's easy to get hold of. Just keep a little bit in your toolbox or your toolkit and just slip it between the crank pulley and the belt.
Yeah.
It means now I don't have to touch that bottom bit and I can keep going up and
great
down as much as I
idea.
want.
Yeah, so again, this isn't a how-to channel, but that's a little inside tip for doing stuff like that. I think that's really cool. It's, again, learning on the job, because I have to learn the whole thing. But that, little things like that, it's the knowledge, isn't it? It's about the knowledge.
Yeah,
Well done, Dan.
It's experience.
That is a shout.
Experience.
And it doesn't fall off.
And
Fantastic.
it does, it sounds, young people getting into this trade trying to do it, it's tips like that. If you can pick that up from people, I'm not saying I'm an old person in this trade, but I've been in it long enough. I've learnt this from people that have been in the trade a long time. So like sometimes listen to the older boys, they do teach you tricks, and silly tricks like that works.
Yeah, little things, mate, little
Make
things.
life easy.
So bottom pulley on here, new bolt in there that came with the kit, which is good. So we're ending today's video, the cam belt and water pump on the Clio, but we've run out of time today. Thanks so much for watching today's video. Tomorrow we will complete that. We're gonna start cleaning the car up as well. Hopefully we've got a track day booked for this car, so we need to get it done. But thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.